Hello and welcome to the fifth week of our podcast from the Cornerstone, and we're reading for Christmas Day entitled The Nativity Play. It began without any great fuss. The Nativity Play in the local school had followed the same pattern for generations. It took place in the local school, and there was an open invitation to parents and visiting dignitaries to come along. Parents and others sat in rows in the back half of the hall. Facing them, making three sides of an open square, sat the well-scrubbed and wide-eyed 5- and 6-year-olds from the primary 1 and most of the primary 2 classes. The selected youngsters from the chosen P2 class for that year, who were the principals in the nativity drama, were safely ensconced in the gym changing room. The Christmas story unfolded along familiar lines. The children sang a Bethlehem-type song, and in from the changing room, encouraged by a fraught P2 teacher, came the beaming Joseph and adorable Mary, bedecked, respectively, in a striped tea towel tied around the head with Dad's old tie, and a blue veil which looked suspiciously like the same material as the curtains in the upper school staff loo. Despite Joseph's passion for waving at his mum in the back row, and the silly woman waving back, and Mary's veil slipping dangerously over her eyes, the expectant couple arrived safely at the stable, right in the middle of an open square of carolling children. The innkeeper got his words right. No funny stories to tell of fluff lines this year. The baby Jesus was duly delivered and laid in the manger, and the shepherds made their entry, complete with crooks and stuffed animals under their arms. Well, there was one animal that looked like a lamb, but what was that child at the back doing carrying a monkey with red and white striped trousers? Oh well, the value of modern exegetical interpretation of Scripture. The tableau was almost complete. Mary and Joseph centre stage, shepherds watching their menagerie on Bethlehem's plains by night, and the angelic P1 and P2s singing beautifully. All was ready for the entry of the three kings. The pianist belted out the appropriate chord. The choristers struck up with an impressive kingly song. The changing room door opened, and in walked two kings. We three kings from Orient are, with one who seemed to have got lost along the way. The two kings, however, appeared to have no knowledge of their wayward companion. They were heading for Bethlehem, right reason or none. There was no way these kings were going to miss the action. Their journey was well planned, round the back of the P2s, into the middle of the drama and straight into Bethlehem's manger square. They walked with style, slowly, well rehearsed in time to the music, ready to present their gifts when the singing ended. The two kings were doing fine and all was going well, until the dressing room door burst open, and falling through it came the third king, cloak flapping, present for the baby Jesus tucked jauntily under his arm, cardboard crown at a crooked angle, and late. Why, no one ever figured out, though a P2 teacher was seen in tears later on. Artistic temperament, perhaps. Well, this third king may have been guilty of tardiness, of an inability to follow instructions, or of falling out with his teacher, but he was not short of intelligence. Any fool could see that there was no way he could get to Bethlehem by the time the music was finished and meet up with his two companions ready for the next dramatic scene. So he decided he would take a shortcut, right through the 3 rows of P1 choristers. Now, that might have been okay if the P1s knew he was coming, or if a teacher had got there soon enough to make a suitable gap, or if the recalcitrant king hadn't decided to run at full tilt. But the kids weren't ready for this intrusion, and the teacher wasn't alive enough to the dangers, and the king didn't fancy walking. So he ran, tripped over a stray pea one leg, fell, skidded along a slippery floor, and arrived at the manger in time to join his more sedate, regal companions. But having arrived, he couldn't stop arriving. He continued to slide right into the stable, right up to the manger, right into the lap of the suitably surprised Mary. The manger went one way, the precious gift of frankincense went another, a cardboard crown appeared in Joseph's lap, and the baby Jesus, free now of the restrictions of his swaddling bands, rolled gently towards the front row of the somewhat startled primary twos. Teachers ran to the rescue. A clever pianist continued with some incidental music until a semblance of order was restored. The final carol was sung. The star performers took their bow to the most thunderous applause anyone could ever recall at a school Christmas nativity play. And one tear-stained parent was heard to remark that the school children that year had given her one of the best Christmas presents she'd ever had. And finally, a short piece entitled Presents. Auntie Flo brought socks again this Christmas. Well, it's a tradition. And that's been my present from Auntie Flo every single year for as long as I can remember. Hairy ones she'd knitted from her usual odd balls of wool and folded up in tissue paper and hidden under the cushions of the sofa for months and months, well pressed by every bottom that had rested there. And now mine, ready to join the dozens of other pairs, as yet unworn. And all the right size, though how did she know that? I gave Auntie Flo freezer talc again this Christmas. Well, it's a tradition. And that's been my present to Auntie Flo every single year for as long as I can remember. Old woman's smelly talc, brought at the church Christmas fair, and wrapped in gaudy glossy paper, kept in the kitchen cupboard for months and months since we bought it half price last January. And now hers, ready to join the dozens of other tins of talc, I'll bet unused. And all the right fragrance, though. How did I know that? I got a kiss from Auntie Flo this Christmas, and I kissed her back. Well, it's a tradition, for we've kissed each other every single year for as long as I can remember. And hugged too, and smiled a lot, and giggled, dressed in silly party hats. We've remembered it for months and months, long after Christmas is over for another year. When January has come and gone, and now ours, ready to join the dozens of other hugs and kisses, well worn, and all the right kind of loving, though how did we know that?